Hey there, dog lovers. You're listening to Wag.Wander.Repeat, the podcast where every tail has a tail and every pup is part of the pack. I'm your host, Frankie, along with Macy. And we're here to celebrate the joy, the mess, the magic, and mayhem that comes along our lives with our four-legged friends. So grab a leash, a treat, and maybe just a comfy spot on the couch, and let's dive in. Today, we're talking about the why behind what we do. I'm taking you behind the scenes and sharing the story of how this whole dog loving journey began, from the early days of dreaming about something more to launching not one, but two dog centric businesses, and now this podcast. I'll talk about what pushed me to finally make the leap, the lessons I learned along the way, and why building a community for dogs and their humans is now such a big part of my life. Before we dive in, I want to share with you something that's close to my heart, which is a section we're going to call Wags and Wins. And this is going to be a section where we share powerful stories of loyalty, love, and legal wins for our furry friends. So this month, I wanted to share about a dog's loyalty. We're starting with a deeply moving story out of Arizona. So a dog was found staying by the side of their owner who had passed away on a hiking trail in the desert. Rescuers shared that the pup remained faithful by the owner's side, refusing to leave even in the intense heat until help arrived. It was heartbreaking yet beautiful reminder of the loyalty our dogs have for us right up until the end. The community has rallied around this dog, making sure that it is safe and cared for, as its owner has since passed away. Some promising policy news out of Arizona as well. Arizona passed SB 1658. This law strengthens the protection of pets in family court cases. Now, when couples separate, judges can consider what's best for the pet. Just like it does currently with kids, this takes into consideration what's best for the pet in the home. And this is a major win for animals in the state because it's recognizing them not just as property, but as living, feeling human um, family members, feeling family members. And speaking of legal process, New York took a big step too recently, and a judge ruled that dogs are legally considered family in court decisions. This opens the door for pet custody to be handled with the same level of care and compassion as other family members. It's a huge milestone in the fight to give dogs the status and right they truly deserve. So, in short, New York's legal update is part of a growing movement across the United States, with 8 jurisdictions now recognizing animal welfare as a factor in custody decisions. Another meaningful step in treating dogs not just as property, but as beloved family members. So, great news for our lovely dogs and making sure that the best thing comes for them, whether we're with them or not. So, welcome to our podcast, Wag, Wonder, and Repeat. This podcast was born from a lifetime of curiosity, exploration, meaningful connections, and of course, a wagging tail or two. I'm your host, I'm Frankie Lemaire, and today I'm sharing the why for the show. So, I'm going to dive into a little bit of my history, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about growing up and kind of my path to where I got today. So, ever since I was a kid, I was torn between two worlds. I love art and I love computers. I remember early days of sketching just vivid screen scenes on paper, and then being able to take those scenes and do it on computer screens. And art really gave me a heart. Tech gave me tools, and together it allowed me to spark something very powerful. And that was a way of telling stories and a way of weaving the human into the digital world in many ways. So I dug deeper into those two passions and entered marketing about 25 years ago. I was lucky enough to build a lot of amazing brands, craft campaigns, and it was such an amazing time for me. And even now, with my business, i3 Media Solutions, I still love designing new websites, crafting a brand, putting all these different focuses on the business, helping them figure out how to put it all together and create these wonderful marketing campaigns. In the early days of doing this, I was at a larger agency, not here in Arizona, but in the United States, and something just kind of felt off. Everywhere I looked, business owners were sharing heartbreaking stories about their marketing and scattered strategies or not really knowing what to do with the campaigns. And agencies did it with them without truly listening. Everybody that came to the agency I was at, they had this path, right? Oh, this is how you get business. This is what you need to do. But many of these business owners weren't heard. We weren't really truly listening to them. And I heard these frustrations time and time again. And it wasn't just that they weren't being heard, many of them also did not have the budgets to afford what they needed to be done and what needed to be done to market their business to help them grow. So I made a promise when I started my agency many years ago that I would listen first, not just push services or sell tactics. I'd hear the person behind the brand, learn their stories, and create a wonderful marketing campaign that speaks to who they are and resonates with their customers and who is their ideal customers. So we work with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses and really making sure that we learn who they are and how they want to grow. So that promise turned into I3 Media Solutions. It was a people first agency. It was rooted in three principles of listening before recommending, building strong, authentic relationships, staying agile, curious, and learning. Um, and even today, when I'm talking in different workshops or national conferences, content is only as strong as the strategy behind it. So when someone's crafting marketing for your vision, supporting your goals, you need to make sure that it's supporting your goals and not just getting you customers. There's a huge difference. Um, so you're probably going, wait, why all the talk about dogs if we're talking about marketing? Well, here's where it fits in, right? Okay, Frankie, but where do dogs come in, right? Those are your questions right now. So here is the thing. Dogs have been a part of my life my whole life. As long as I can remember, there has always been dogs. They show us how to be present. They show us how to be joyful, and they actually connect without words. So I started asking, what would it be like with a life you know, that had that connection? What if my work, my creative outlets, and my business all leaned into that same energy of unconditional love, loyalty, curiosity, and fun? And that's really kind of where some of this was born. Now, I do have a really sad story that I'll share with you first, a couple of them along the way. But a couple of years ago, right before starting my first dog-centric business, Robert and I were going to go on a trip. And within the first few days, leading up to this trip, we had a couple days left. Guess what? Our pet sitter canceled on us at the last minute. How many of you guys can relate to that? How many have had a pet sitter cancel at the last minute and you have to scramble to figure out what to do? Well, same thing happened to us. We had our plane tickets, we had our hotel. We were basically packed and ready. And last minute, we had no pet sitter. So what did we do? We luckily scrambled and we found someone who could take care of our kids. And I'm sorry, but our kids are not the most easy, right? Let me readjust here a little bit. There we go. We have Maddie, who is reactive to other dogs and sometimes humans. She mostly loves all humans, but she's, a little special when it comes to her dog friends. And then we have Max, who is an older boy. He is starting to lose his sight and his hearing. And then we have Macy, who is our younger pup. Really playful girl, but a little standoffish with humans at this time still because she hadn't been socialized enough. So that's where working for Wags came in. I started it with the belief that pets are happiest in their homes. So what happened is we scrambled, we found someone who came, stayed with our pets, and we had a great, I think it was like only 4 days. We were gone for 4 days, but we had a great vacation. Everything went really well. Well, on the plane flight home, I looked over at Robert and I said, I'm going to fix this so we can go on more vacations. And I'm going to start a pet sitting company. Well, lo and behold, Working for Wags launched our in-home pet sitting and dog walking service. We provide personalized loving care for animals where they're most comfortable in their own space. In just the first 10 months, we cared for 136 animals, completing over 100 stays, and have way more on the calendar, even booked out into the future. We have great reviews. We have an amazing client base. We have an amazing pet sitting team that supports us. And it is more than a service. It is a building trust with each animal and their human. We um, we then started down the path of, you know, figuring out the ins and outs of that business along the way. Our sitters are licensed, bonded, and insured, and we make sure that every pet owner, pet sitter are all matched accordingly to the special skills needed to care for those animals, but also making sure that they're all comfortable with each other. We do background checks. So we also approach everything as a team. So you always have a backup. Fast forward to a couple years later, then came Dogs of Tucson. This one, again, is a very personal origin. It started after Macy was um, was attacked and had to spend 2 nights in the doggy ER. And I couldn't shake the feeling that there had to be a better, safer way for dogs to just be dogs. I started researching all these different ideas across the country and started realizing that there was a lot of people like doing these kind of bar restaurant dog park ideas. And while the dogs were still not really integrated inside, they had back patios or different places for dogs to play. And it just brought the whole idea of being able to be there with your dog, enjoy them playing in a safe environment where people were watching. It just sparked this idea for me that really became Dogs of Tucson. So the vision of Dogs of Tucson was born in the Bark Park because it's a clean, spacious, thoughtful design, off leash place for dogs to be dogs. It has indoor and outdoor spaces, so we're encouraging good potty breaks with outdoor spaces. It's all built with safety and comfort in mind, but it's not just comfort of the humans, it's comfort of the dogs. So many outdoor dog parks, at least in my area of the country, are just dirt, fenced in dirt. And the bowls, the water, the toys, they all don't get cleaned regularly. There is no rules about who can use the park. There's no safety in place about vaccinations needing to be done. It's kind of a free fall. So with Dogs of Tucson, we actually vet the dogs, making sure that they are friendly, introducing them slowly in making sure that all dogs are comfortable before just kind of letting them off leash into a room of other dogs. And we change the water bowls, disinfect. We make sure that the space is disinfected and scrubbed down, that everything is done in a way that dogs are safe, right? Our team is all trained on body language. We are always monitoring the play to make sure things stay safe. Um, and it's built with safety and comfort in mind for the dogs as well as the humans. So, uh, what we have learned along the way is there's many, many, many under socialized dogs. So we are always constantly working with dogs, making sure that they're comfortable. We are making sure that we do slow introductions. I believe a lot of dogs, especially the ones that come from a rescue, are maybe a little more timid when they come in the first time. Many of them probably are wondering what kind of groomer or vet we are. What is this weird place we're getting dragged to now by our humans? And, after that initial, when they realize what kind of place it is and what they get to do there, then we have the dogs running through the door. We have the dogs that are so excited that they can't wait to get inside. We feature staycations, which is our form of boarding. I believe we're the only one in Tucson that has staff 24/7. We have small group daycare and lots of individual love and attention for your fur friends. So there's kind of the gist of the two businesses. And then Macy and I, we also get to do this lovely thing through Life Beyond the Books. Life Beyond the Books is a nonprofit here that takes different aspects of things that you don't really learn in school and brings them into middle schools and high schools. It's a nonprofit, and we are part of the team. Macy and I go into different classrooms and we talk about what it is to, uh, really educate on the joy of dog companionship. We share tips on care of dogs and pets. We show all the kids the lovely tricks that Macy knows. We let them learn a lot about just care, proper handling of dogs, the different ways to approach them. And we try to just educate on how these animals live with us, right? How they live in our world, and that they should be valued, respected, and adored. But beyond that, that they are a lifetime commitment. So we're trying to put it out there into the community that these animals are, they need us, right? We need them, they need us, and they are part of our family. They're not something that just because we move or something that as we grow up or change that we get rid of, right? They're a lifelong commitment. So hopefully, along the way, we're convincing a lot of young people that animals are a joy to have in their lives and that they should be part of um, keeping them safe. And finally, here it is, the Wag, Wonder, and Repeat podcast. So this is where I want to bring all of those stories together. Ever since starting working for Wags, the pet sitting company, I get a lot of phone calls from people that just have stories. They have good and bad stories. They have needs. They have things that they need help with. They have a lot of questions about what to do in different situations. And while I never claim to be the expert, I do believe that along the way I've learned some really great stuff. So, what I want to do here is I want to bring some of those stories to life. I also feel like this is a place where we can celebrate the bond between our dogs and humans, the joy, the heartwarming, the silly, the hard. It's a place for real talk, real love, real tales. Whether I'm sharing stories of our community, interview dog lovers or pet professionals, or just reflecting on the joy of the muddy paws and the wagging tails, this podcast is a celebration of what it means to be a dog lover. Um, and honestly, if you want to know why a podcast, well, and why this title. So, WAG really symbolizes the joy your dog brings, the moments of spontaneous and love. Wander hints at the exploration. So, to the place, the new places, the ideas, the stories, and the strategies. Repeat speaks of the rhythm, habits, routines, the cycle of growth in life and business. So, with each episode, I will bring that same authentic listener first approach, exploring personal stories, marketing insights, travel, career pivots, and just the magic of the loving of the dogs and that perfect wag. Uh, so here's my invitation to you. Come wag with me. Tune in and share the wonder, and let's create something meaningful together. Because whether you're crafting a brand story, exploring a new hiking path, or sharing a candid moment with your four-legged friends, it's all about connection. It's all going to help build that community and that connection. So this is Wag, Wonder, and Repeat, and I can't wait to get started with you. So, before I let you go, I have one more section of the podcast I want to share for today, and pretty much going to be part of every existing episode. It's what I want to call the dog patch. Um, oh, I'm sorry, the dog park dispatch. Um, what I really want to do here is I want to talk about the important pieces of vetting who cares for your animals. Um, I feel like there is many, many, many ways to find a perfect match for you, your dog, when it comes to pet sitters, doggy daycares. Um, but you also really need to vet these businesses. Um, and what I want to say here is not all just like in life and business, everything, right? Not everything is comparing apples to apples. Sometimes you have to compare many different factors, right? So what do you want to look for in a doggy daycare or a dog care person? What kind of what's important to you? What's important to your dog? Are you comfortable with some of the franchises that put 60 plus dogs in one room with one human? Is this what the experience of what you want is for your animal? So, what I would like to talk to you about is how to vet a doggy daycare. Um, and what I mean by that is what questions should you be asking, right? So, because not everything is the same. So, really, the first thing I want you to think about is what is the staff, the team to dog ratio, right? Because how many dogs is it per human in the facility? This is a huge thing. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people don't ask. I was one of those people many years ago. I was very trusting after Macy got hurt. I went to many different dog facilities trying to find a place for her to learn to be a social dog. And I realized that many places were not equipped to handle dogs like Macy anymore because she wasn't the one who could walk into the room and be comfortable with 60 plus dogs approaching her instantly. Um, so one of the big things I want you to encourage you to do anytime you're trying to find a place for your dog, whether you're boarding it, whether you're looking for a pet sitter or you're taking your dog to daycare, find out what the ratio of dogs to humans in that facility is. Is there downtime? Do they get to have breaks or is it like a madhouse all day long, right? Is there places for them to take private breaks if needed? Is the staff trained in CPR? Do they know canine behavior? Do they know dog first aid? What kind of thing can they tell us? So, what we're looking for is we're looking for what kind of staff training. One of the things that surprised me when I started Dogs of Tucson is just the amount of people that said, "Oh, I worked for so and so company. I was, part of their team that was in the rooms with the dogs and blah blah blah, and I watched this many dogs at a time." And I'd ask them about training and try to figure out how they learned the skills that they need to watch that many dogs. And many times they said, "Oh, I watched a couple videos on my first day, and then I was, put in this room with all the dogs." And it's like, "Oh, well, do you know how to use the tools to separate in case there's an incident or in case, there's a something happens?" "Oh, well, they gave us a water hose or they gave us this or they gave us that." And you're like, "Oh, wow, that's, not exactly the best way to do it, but okay, good. At least you had something." And then, I'd ask questions about, you know, um, if they've ever had to handle a scuffle or if they've had other things happen. And a lot of times, similar, answers where it's like, "Oh yeah, that would happen about once a day." And it's like, wow, this is, so lots of concerns came from these conversations as asking questions of potential team members. So you want to know, how is the staff trained, right? Do they know canine behavior? Do they know body language? Do they know CPR? Do they know first aid? What is that staff to dog ratio, right? Second thing is you want to ask them questions about temperament tests. So we call it a social eval at our place. Some places call it a temperament test. Others have like a meet and greet name. It just kind of depends on what they're looking for. And um, it's all the same thing, right? It's to determine if a dog is a good fit for their play groups. And not just like humans, not every dog is going to love every dog it meets. So, just like humans, dogs need to be comfortable with each other. Just like humans, there's going to be days that you might not want to be around your best friend. You might need some breaks. You might need other things, right? So, the temperament test will give you kind of an idea of how well your dog will fit in with a play group in that facility. If they don't do temperament tests, um, you know, we do private temperament tests. We have dogs come in. First, we work with them as the humans, and then depending on how they do with that, we'll introduce dogs. And, we do it slowly, one dog at a time, and we'll build a little play group up around them. Some places will just put your dog into a room with 60 plus dogs, and, if your dog doesn't do well with that, then your dog's not a fit. Other places will just invite you in for half a day of daycare and they will rotate your dog around until they find a play group that seems to have the same play style as your dog. I'm not saying any of them are right or wrong, but I would, definitely ask about what their style is and how they figure out if your dog's a good fit. I would also ask about emergency procedures. So, what is the procedure if there's medical emergency or an altercation between dogs? What is the procedure if there's something that happens at the facility and all the dogs have to exit quickly? Um, Other things to ask about is, taking a facility tour. I think that's really important. We do what we call human tours. We don't allow the dogs to tour just because we don't have their vaccinations, they haven't been vetted yet, but we invite all humans to come see our facility. We'll give them a tour of the park. We'll show them around. We'll talk to them about, why we have some kennels. We'll talk to them about the outdoor potty porch and why that's important to us. We will talk to them about the cleanliness of the facility, but also the fact that we do not use cleaners that will hurt the dog's paws or hurt their nose when they're smelling them. So we want to make sure that our cleaners are killing any of the viruses that um, will also are like part of the communal diseases that dogs get. So we use very specific cleaners. And we kind of rotate a couple different ones. So asking about their cleanliness and how their facility is cleaned and what they use is very important. If you walk in and you smell bleach, there's a problem. Indoor and outdoor access. So, how much time does your dog spend outdoor versus indoor? Is there secure fencing? Is there a way that your dog can get loose during the day or get lost during the day, right? So, all of those things are really good to ask. Climate control is another big one, especially here in Arizona. Our winters are lovely, but our summers are hot. And, if your dog's going somewhere to play during the day, let's just make sure it has AC, right? Make sure it has a really comfortable, climate controlled area for that. The other things that we want to talk about is hazard prevention. This sounds crazy. I guess I could also call it like resource guarding, right? So, resources can be things like humans, balls, toys, food. Those are all resources for dogs, and they're all things that they worry about. So, we have a special one at our facility because we're an indoor dog park and we allow humans in, right? So, humans can become resources that dogs are worried about. But what we really want to watch for is making sure that the dogs stay safe. So we don't allow food, toys, balls, things like that in the pack setting. We will allow dogs that are maybe taking a break to play with a puzzle, do different things to stay entertained, work their brain versus working their body during those moments of break. But we really, really do watch how much resources the dogs have at their disposal when they're in the group setting. Also, group play. So, how are the dogs divided? This is a huge one. We get this all the time, and a lot of people disagree with us because they want littles together and they want bigs together. Well, I'll tell you, I got some of the littlest dogs that think they are twice the size of my big dogs, and they play rough. They will, body slam with the best of them. And I have some, big dogs that think they are tiny and they need to be around the smalls because those are their friends. Those are the ones that they believe that they match with. So we do more of a group play based on play style. And we do watch for size when that comes into play because we don't want to get anyone trampled. So we will separate our groups, making sure that the littles are safe, but we will also just separate based on the different play styles and making sure that everything looks good and safe. Daily schedule. So, is there a routine that you have to follow every day? Is there a nap time, playtime, enrichment activities? Um, I also like to include like drop off. So, some places, and I've heard this about a few places, but they have specific drop off hours. And you're not allowed to pick up early, you're not allowed to drop off later. And it makes it a little difficult for some places, for some humans that have their dogs in these places, right? And then there is socialized management. So, how are the dogs introduced? How do the staff intervene if there's a conflict? What happens when something's not perfect, right? What does that look like? Is downtime incorporated into the day? These are all things that you need to think about because these dogs are our kids, I mean, they're our fur babies. We love them. We want them as part of our life. So we have to make sure that we keep them safe. And that means vetting every place that we take them. So, another good couple things to remind ourselves about is vaccination requirements, because just like humans, dogs can get each other sick if they have diseases. There's certain communal diseases that can happen when you're in a pack of dogs. So medications and meals might also be something that needs to happen. We have some young pups that come to us and they need their dinners or they need their lunches to stay happy all day. Some of them can get hangry if they don't have them. So making sure that they have built-in times for meals or snacks, making sure that medication is also administered, if it needs it, right? If the dog needs it. How does the reporting look like? Do you get report cards? Do you get updates? Do you get pictures? Do you just have a small area that you can watch a camera on? Because many of those facilities don't show you the full rooms. Our facility does have cameras. We have it on a closed circuit. Everything records to a backup, and it is video and audio. So if there is anything that happens, we make sure to watch it. We make sure we go back and we make sure that we are deciphering what happened. Then, of course, there's the fee of the daycare, right? There's fees, the package pricing, all of that kind of stuff. It was funny. I talked to a lady the other day. She was calling us and she kept telling me, well, I have this flyer from you. I have this flyer from you. And then she was reading the flyer and she read off the competitor's name. And I said, yep, that's not us. Our name is this. So somehow she had this flyer from us, right? Flyer from us. And she got our phone number from somewhere because she called us. And yet she was holding a competitor's coupon, right? So, um, anyway, just a funny little story. So, what I'm wanting you to do is make sure that wherever you trust your dog, wherever you are letting them be, make sure that you're asking the right questions. Make sure that you're vetting those places and those people that you're allowing your dog to be around. We've seen some, I've toured a lot of doggy daycares. I toured a lot of the franchises. I did a lot of research, 2 years of research before opening Dogs of Tucson, and really just diving into every aspect of what that business was going to be and what we could do. So, um, what I would love for you to take away from this episode is that going forward, regardless of who cares for your animals, you're going to make sure that you ask the right questions. Is it's beyond, do you love my animal? It's beyond that. It's will you keep them safe and make sure that their healthy and well-being is intact. So thanks for so much for joining me for this first episode of Wag, Wonder, and Repeat. I hope you pulled something out of it. I hope you'll I hope hearing a bit about the journey and how the lifelong love of dogs turned into more, and now even just the kickoff of this podcast, I hope it inspires you to chase your own dreams, especially the ones that maybe are tugging silently at your heart. This is just the beginning, and I'm so excited to build this community with you, sharing stories, listening together, making life better for our friends. So if you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love if you would subscribe, leave a review, share the story, share the episode, tell someone that we exist. Uh, if you got a great dog story question or something you want to hear on the show, head over to Wag.Wander.Repeat on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your paws happy, your heart full, and don't forget to wag, wonder, and repeat. Have a great day, everyone.